Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, Principal Atmospheric Scientist at Nutrien Ag Solutions, and I want to thank you for watching this weekly Ag Weather Update brought to you by the Farm Credit Associations of North Carolina. Let's begin by looking at what the weekend gave us. We're seeing here the last 72 hours of total accumulated precipitation, and across much of the Carolinas we saw anywhere between a half-inch to in some locations over an inch and a half of rainfall, but the only place it was really kind of missed with the heavy rainfall amounts was in the far northeastern corner of North Carolina. Now, I just want to give you some perspective outside of the Carolinas because we saw over the last weekend multiple rounds of severe weather that moved through parts of Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, even up into parts of Tennessee. And as those storms went through, they put down some incredibly heavy rain. So when you just think about the progress of this spring, I want you to think about what's going on a bit to your west, because it is certainly impacting ag in a major way that will be affecting North and South Carolina in the coming days. Well, the pattern is very active. It's very it's just primed and ready to go, with bringing in multiple rounds of severe weather, including some strong storms that not only sweep from Texas through the Mid-South, but get right up here into the Carolinas in the coming days. Now, those storms over the last few days, look at the severe weather reports. Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, and again that same region. Well, these three regions that got hit back on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, well, the system that moved through is finally moving its way over toward us here in the Carolinas, and it's going to bring with it some strong to severe storms. We can see it on the kind of limb view here of our GOES 17 satellite. So you see the system right in through there? Well, that's the one that's progressing over toward us here in the day on Monday into Tuesday morning. But a reason why I show you this focused on the west coast is this is our next major system we're going to be having to deal with, and it is one of many. The Pacific Ocean is loaded up with low pressure systems that will be pushing across the United States. So let's watch them kind of in sequence here. Now, this is what I want you to see. We're going to watch, first of all, in the morning on Monday for our first shortwave trough in the flow of the jet stream to move right here toward the Carolinas throughout Monday night into Tuesday morning. Now, what's a shortwave? It's these little wiggles that dip to the south in the flow. And what we color code on these maps is something called vorticity. Vorticity is spin in the atmosphere. Now, why tell you all of this? Well, when we move pockets of spinning air in the atmosphere, I'm not talking about tornadoes, I'm talking about hurricanes, I'm talking about big circulations here. If we move these pockets of vorticity around, they provide what we often refer to as the upper level support for these storm systems to emerge. So we've got one there in Texas and in Louisiana, Arkansas. Our next big one is here, and it's right now got a tilt of it that's a positive tilt, like a forward slash. By the time it gets to the middle part of the country, it's going to have kind of a negative tilt, which means we're going to have multiple systems that lift. Now, why tell you all of this? Well, if systems lift from the Central Plains to the Great Lakes states, we tend to stay warm here across the southeast, but we also tend to stay quite active with our shower and thunderstorm activity, and so it's going to be coming through in waves. Are you ready? If we start this off, look at this. First system right there. This is going to be Monday into Tuesday morning, sweeps through the south, hitting the Carolinas. Our next big system comes right into the Central Plains right there. So several days of nice warm weather that follow this early week storminess. But out ahead of this one, warm air pushing in, but a big cyclone moving through the middle part of the country, and it will get its front all the way over to us by the weekend. But we're not done. Look at this, coming through Arizona, New Mexico, into Texas. Here's our next big wave. And that one pushes up to the Great Lakes states and drags a front and some severe weather through much of the south, getting over to the Carolinas. And look at this. I got you all the way out to the 16th of April. We got another big system coming through, causing problems. This pattern is extremely active, and when we put it all together over the next 7 days, we can see that the Carolinas in general picking up anywhere between an additional inch to maybe in some locations over 2 inches of rain. But I want to keep your attention to your west, because this same area, which has seen a lot of flooding, is about to get hammered with rainfall. Oh, and by the way, be glad you're not in the northern plains. All of this is snow. There may be a spot in parts of Wyoming, Nebraska, South Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin that may get another foot plus inches of snow. So be happy that you're down in the southeast, because it's going to be awful there. And it's been awful there. This is showing you the last 60 days, so our last 2 months in terms of percent of normal precipitation. Look at the Mid-South. look at the northern plains. This flooding problem that we're dealing with in the middle part of the country, which is impacting ag across the country, which means it's impacting us in the Carolinas, well, we're going to continue to deal with that. I know you're saying, wait a minute, it looks so dry down here, but that's over the last 60 days. It's been very wet in some of these regions over the last, 15 days or so. So we've got an active pattern setting up, and let's diagnose it. We're going to look first at our high-resolution NAM model. Let's get this out to early Monday morning. So this is around 10 o'clock in the morning. Things are okay. But look at the system progressing from the west to the east, such that by Monday evening, that's when our strong to severe thunderstorm threat really builds in. Monday evening getting into early Tuesday morning, scattered showers, thunderstorms, some of which could be severe. And we're going to deal with these pesky showers throughout the day on Tuesday. But look at this. By the time I get us through Tuesday into Wednesday, things clear out. The weather will be beautiful until the end of the week. And that's because the middle section of the country, this is just the beginning of it, will be dealing with a massive winter storm. Okay, severe weather outlook. This is primarily for Monday getting into Tuesday morning. We can see that a big section of the Carolinas is right now designated by the Storm Prediction Center at having a slight risk for severe storms. Watch out if you're in this area, because we do have both the potential for a frontal squall line to sweep through, starting like this, moving to the east, and then some discrete cells out ahead of this, which could produce some strong straight line winds, possibly some hail, and we have to be on the lookout for the isolated tornado with this system. So this primary severe weather threat to begin the week is Monday into early Tuesday morning, okay? Now, what's coming after this? Well, let's play this forward. Just stop it right there. That gets us past the first system we've already diagnosed. Big warm up toward the middle and end of the week as the next huge load takes shape in the middle part of the country. It won't be until Friday afternoon into Saturday morning that we finally get these storms over here toward the East Coast and toward the Carolinas. So we're going to have to deal with that toward the end of this week. Now, beyond that, we're going to have another couple of days where things are going to be halfway decent through the weekend as the next big system emerges in the Central Plains, such that by Monday into Tuesday of next week, we got a front that drags through the area, bringing in another chance at strong to severe storms. So we're kind of just getting the timing of these down. And then we're going to have a couple of days of break. And then look at this. Here comes the next one sweeping through by the time we get out to 10 days from now. So we're talking about next Wednesday into Thursday. So we have multiple chances, 3 chances in the next 10 days at bringing in some very vigorous weather overall. Now, when we look at precipitation, I want to show you 2 things. This is the probability of picking up an additional 2 inches of rain all the way through next Monday. Now, while much of that heavy rainfall will be confined to parts of the Mid-South and getting down there into the lower Mississippi River Valley, I just want to show you with each one of these systems coming through the Carolinas, we have the potential for picking up quite a bit of rainfall as well. And the national blended model, that's the map that's over here on the left, is picking up on heavier rainfall amounts through the states of North and South Carolina through the next 10 days, but the much bigger rainfall amounts and flooding threat will be back to your west in the lower Mississippi River Valley. So just want to keep that perspective for you. What are temperatures going to do? Well, I told you we're going to be seeing warmth out ahead of us. So look, we're getting through Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yeah, warm conditions. We'll get a shot at some cooler air, but it's going to take all the way into next week for it to get there. So we've got several days of very pleasant, warm conditions coming up. Yes, precipitation. We looked at the timing of that, but pleasant conditions overall until we get maybe out to the 16th, 17th, where we could get a brief shot at some cooler air. But things go back on the warming trend with time here, and we're going to continue to see kind of our early spring weather hang on here in the coastal Carolinas, getting all the way back to the Appalachian Mountains. But with the vigorous Pacific Ocean jet stream pattern, we stay here across a big swath of the country all the way into week 2. So this is only a week 2 precipitation anomaly forecast. We stay wet. It is the precipitation that is causing our major problems right now around the country. Okay, quick trip to South America, just because we're talking here about safrinha corn, safrinha cotton, and also the first crop beans, which are important to the Carolinas. We see that much of northern Brazil stays on their wetter pattern. Got quite a tongue of moisture that's coming in here off the Atlantic Ocean. And we normally see this time of year the Brazilian monsoon weaken, that circulation weakens, so they tend to get drier and drier and drier every day, but we're staying a little bit wetter than average. And just to take you down here into a place called Paraná, so this is in southern Brazil, very productive for corn and soybeans. We can see that they finished March and began April relatively dry, but went into that with enough moisture that they've been able to kind of survive it. And so the crop is looking pretty good in southern Brazil. Argentina, Uruguay, Here's Uruguay. They're starting to harvest down here, both beans and corn, and things are looking much better than they did a year ago when they were in drought. So no major weather stories that could potentially move markets in a positive way coming out of South America. What I want to finish with is I want to give you a quick update about what's going on in May and in June. So longer range forecast coming out for both April and May keeps the South, keeps the Carolinas wet. Active, severe weather is the real deal. Same thing with the Central Plains. As we get into June, I will have to look at this carefully and continue this diagnosis, because what we are possibly seeing is a pattern that does something more like this. Keeping the North Central Plains very wet, and that has major implications for the Carolinas, because if we're wet here and having problems getting into the field and getting this crop going, because of maybe a ridge developing here over the southeast, well, that could spell some trouble for the whole country. It could be for this upcoming summer with some problems. And one of the things I'm concerned about as we progress into this spring and summer is the potential for a southeastern ridge to develop. I'll keep a very, very close eye on this over the coming weeks and months, because if that does, those southeastern ridge tend to bring in drought. I'm not calling for that just yet. In fact, I don't have much confidence right now in my 3 to 6 month forecast, but it's something I'll be watching, and I'll keep you updated about it. Okay, so with that, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this forecast video. We want to thank you for watching. Hope you look forward to our next update coming out next week. Thank you.